What's up, guys? Welcome to Filthy Rags Garage. Thanks for stopping by the channel. If you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to see what we got coming in the future, hit that subscribe button, and you'll be able to see it when we put it out. Now, a little preface for this video. I have my old '79 Ford pickup. Originally started as my grandfather's. He bought it new in '79. When he retired, he gave it to my father, and my father gave it to me when I graduated high school. So I've been doing a lot of things to it about the last 10 years, but it's been slow going. But what I've done before I started filming anything is I put a 3G alternator on it, or a high output 130 amp alternator. Came out of a '99 Ford Taurus, and I put two electric fans on the radiator to help cool this thing down. I do live in Florida, and it tends to get pretty hot, and one of the upgrades I'm going to do later is air conditioning. This truck was bought without any air conditioning. So that's going to be one of the things I do, and to be able to handle that in Florida, I'm going to have those two electric fans. So that's about it. That's everything I've done off camera or before I started filming. So the rest of it should be now. Hope you guys enjoy. So what we're working on, I guess we should start there. We're on my '79 Ford F100. And the current project putting electric fans on the radiator. Now this is just an aluminum sheet I had cut to size, almost perfect size, from our local trailer shop, like trailer you haul behind a car. You bring them the dimensions, they cut you whatever size you want, and they give you just a flat piece, and you pay for it. Now these fans I got out of a late '90s, early 2000 Ford Taurus or Mercury Sable. It's the same car, it's just rebadged. And then I just got all this hardware and brackets and whatnot from the hardware store. And what I ended up doing was actually riveting it to the fan, and then I used the flattest head I could find of stainless steel hardware, and then used just a nut on the back side and some thread lock to hold it on. And then I used the necessary size stainless steel bolt to fit into the stock radiator hole. And it's got this little flange here. I can point that to you. Got this flange that sticks out from the radiator core itself here. Those holes are already there. Just marked them, drilled them, made sure they fit. And it's got four. It's got one here, one down there, and then two on those corresponding sides. And I think that's about it. Oh, I did have to space it out. The way the fans sit when they're mounted to this aluminum, they were too close to the radiator when actually rubbing on it. So I don't know if you can see that in there. And I'm just using stainless steel washers as a spacer. I can't get that to focus. Nope. So I just use stainless steel washers as a spacer in between the radiator and this aluminum, and then just got some of this foam tape from Home Depot. Got it in the air conditioning section, and you just see the bolt there on the back. So that's what we're working on today. And I should mention, before you can do anything like that, before you can do any kind of a project on these older vehicles that requires such a large amount of electricity or a large amount of power, I did what's called a 3G alternator upgrade. Now, I'm not sure exactly why it's called a 3G, but this alternator again came out of the same model Taurus or Mercury Sable, late '90s, early 2000s, but it puts out at max 130 amps. And it was super simple to wire in. I'll probably go over that later. But the identifying feature for these, if you're ever wanting to do this, these two braces here that are built into the casing, if it has these two holes in between these braces, that's the 130 amp output you want. If there are three holes in between these two braces, I believe that's the alternator that only puts out 95 amps. And I say only. Actually, the stock alternator for this truck, again, this is a '79 Ford pickup, came with a 351M, and the stock alternator at max put out 40 amps. I don't know if you heard that correctly, but that was 40 amps at max. And I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure this alternator puts out more than 40 amps at idle. So again, you got to do that. You got to get a better alternator. You got to put an alternator in here that's going to put out enough power to run these electric fans. Otherwise you're going to burn up wiring, burn up your alternator, and it just causes all sorts of awful problems. So again, we'll go over that. That might be a later video later. That might be a video later if you guys are interested. Today, we're trying to finish up. Sorry about the blinding light. This is Florida. We're trying to finish up actually installing the fans themselves. Now we got the plate in, got that mounted to the radiator, got the holes cut for the fans, got the fans mounted to the shroud, if that's what you want to call it. And now we're trying to finish up the wiring. So what my truck uses is gradual. You know, the hotter it gets, the more the needle on the dash moves, telling you the hotter it is. You know, you kind of see that on any vehicle. You know, the longer it runs, the more you see that needle come up saying it's running warmer or running hotter. This does not work like that. This is a switch. It's like the switch in your house to turn your light on or off. It's either on or it's off. There is no middle, there is no gradient, there's no partial on, it's kind of on. It's just flat out on or off. So this is what we're going to use to control the fans on that radiator, to get them turned on when we want and to turn off when we want. I doubt you can see it. Right here it says 185/175, and what that means is this will turn on, the switch will turn on, complete the circuit at 185 degrees Fahrenheit, and then will turn off, essentially turning the fans off, at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. And how we're going to do that is right here. Now this is the stock thermostat housing, and this is the wrong temperature switch. When I ordered this, I got it off of Amazon, and like I said, the correct one is 185/175. Well, this one has the lower number listed first. So this one turns off at 185 and turns on at either 195 or 200. I don't remember, but that's too hot. This one does not turn on early enough to do what I want. I got it working. I got the fans working. Everything in the system worked when I had it temporarily wired in. But on my temperature gauge inside the cab, this did not turn the fans on until my temperature gauge was almost pegged out, almost all the way hot. It was actually just touching the needle of the hot, or the end of the gauge. It was all the way to the max of what it should be, or where that gauge can be before that turned on. So we're going to switch that one out to this one, which runs about, I think, 15 or 20 degrees cooler, which should be about where we want. And these are cheap. I got this off Amazon for less than $10. I think it was $6.99 or $7.99. No shipping, free shipping, free tax. But so we're going to switch that out. But so with this, back to the housing, I lucked out. There was this vacuum assisted contraption on here. Actually, this guy right here was bolted in there, or screwed in there. And let me see, the vacuum tube here just goes from one side to the other. So it was essentially doing nothing. I can't say essentially, it was doing nothing. So I took it out, and sure enough, this I believe this is 3/8 NPT thread, fit perfectly in there. So we're just going to take that one out, put this one in, and then we're going to actually finalize the wiring on this. And I know everyone loves watching wiring because it's so much fun, and it makes for great TV or YouTube, whichever.